Mr. Fernandez, hello. Thank you for joining our interview. So we'll talk about innovation in this interview, basically. So I'd be appreciated if you start telling us about your think tank. What do you guys do?
Hello, Nevşin. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I am the CEO of We Are Innovation. We Are Innovation is a network of think tanks, foundations, and NGOs. The network was originally born in Latin America. I am from Argentina originally, but it has grown. We are now 44 organizations from all over the world. We are present in 4 continents. And what unites us is that we want to defend innovation and human creativity. We want to everything that we do in a country or a region is to foster a climate and an environment that is pro-innovation, that allows innovators to do what they do best, which is to improve our lives.
How do you do that? Do you finance some projects, or do you provide them know-how? How do you do that?
No, we are in general not a grant giving organization. What we do is we try to, let's say, we have two different kinds of works. On the one hand, we try to promote the values that support innovation, such as entrepreneurship, free trade, and open economy. Being able to take risks, have the courage to take risks, understand that failure is not necessarily the end of the world, and many startups fails, and it's important to be able to pick yourself up and start again. And the other thing, we also try to have conversations with different stakeholders, particularly regulators, public officials, members of parliament, and people from governments and political parties in general, to, let's say, to let them know about these ideas, to let them know that they should be careful not to over-regulate. Regulation is important, but regulation has always to be smart, and it has always to leave windows and doors open for innovation. Regulation cannot predict innovation. So let's say our aim is always to create an open environment so innovators can operate.
So you provide people with a network, basically, with a web, in a sense.
That is part of what we do. We also try to let's say, talk to the general public and let them know about how the benefits that innovation have brought to their lives, and also talk to other stakeholders to try to create an environment that allows to foster innovation.
I was smiling as you were saying, we are basically talking about regulation to political parties and governments. I was smiling because you've been working in the EU, especially Sweden. And, when one says Sweden, first thing comes to mind is regulation, basically. But you achieved something in Sweden. And this is actually, that's my interest in this interview. What did you achieve there, and how did you do that?
Nevşin, that's it's a very important point, and you have definitely stroked something interesting. Sweden, let's say, Sweden is a country that is misperceived in many ways, and one of them is that Sweden, I would say, is more a high taxation country than a high regulatory country. And it's interesting that in the rankings of economic freedom, of which taxation is a part, but it's not all, the Scandinavian countries, particularly Sweden, score very well. Let's say those are countries in which definitely you will have to pay a hefty amount of money every year to the government. But on the other hand, let's say the field is quite open in many ways, particularly compared to other European countries, to other members of the European Union. The field is quite open to pursue certain, a lot of projects. And that brings us to something that Sweden is doing very well. One of the topics, we like to focus on topics that are innovative, but also have a very profound and positive human impact. And one of the things we've been observing with interest is everything that has to do with innovation in the space of nicotine. As you know, smoking is still a big threat to many people. 1.3 billion people around the globe smoke. In Turkey, almost 1 every 2 men smoke, and smoking prevalence overall in society is over 30%, so still extremely high. We all know we don't have a prohibitionist perspective, but smoking is bad. And if you can find a way in order to not to smoke or to change to something that allows you to consume nicotine with all the problems that smoking has, that's something that definitely needs to be contemplated. And in Sweden, they basically have done that. Sweden is about to become a smoke-free country. That means that less than 5% of the population smokes. And how they have achieved this? Basically allowing innovation to work. What Sweden has not stopped consuming nicotine. They consume nicotine, but they don't burn tobacco in order to do that. They do it with other alternatives. One of them is nicotine pouches, which is, by the way, a Swedish innovation. It's an invention and an innovation that was started in Sweden. And
Is
all
it
the
something like
diseases...
is it something like a nicotine chewing gum?
No, it's not exactly that. It's, let's say, it's extremely similar in the sense that both are almost innocuous products. Compared to cigarettes, they are 98% safer than cigarettes. So it's a completely, it's worlds apart from a cigarette, from a burning tobacco cigarette. But the nicotine pouch is just an elongated rectangle, very thin, that people place between their gum and their lip. And it emits nicotine. Sometimes it has some sort of flavor, sometimes it doesn't. And particularly nicotine pouches have been extremely helpful for women in order to stop smoking. In Sweden, there were other products, but there were not the taste of women. And they have helped a lot of women to... That's quite interesting. Sweden has a story, let's say a tradition of more than 2 centuries now, with another product called snus that comes from tobacco, but again, it's a smokeless product. But it was never of the taste of women because of several reasons. It's a product that in its original form, it smelled badly, it stained the teeth. And then, particularly at the beginning of the 20th century, the cigarette became like the most modern, so to speak, alternative. And let's say women got hooked in smoking, and even today, women smoke slightly more than men, because particularly snus was never appealing to them. Nicotine pouches came to address this issue, and it has helped a lot of women stop smoking. What's very interesting, Nevşin, is that nicotine consumption in Sweden is more or less at the same level as the average of the European Union. The thing is, they don't burn tobacco, and with this, all the diseases that have to do with smoking in Sweden have plummeted. Sweden has the best, the lowest cancer rates, the lowest, all the diseases that are related to smoking in Sweden are the lowest compared to the rest of the European Union. If you compare to the rest of the world, it would be even bigger. And these diseases have not been replaced by other diseases. So this tells you that innovation in nicotine has given us finally tools to defeat tobacco, and this is something that, if you are interested in public health, is something you should take into consideration.
So people are consuming nicotine, but their lungs are healthier.
Their lungs, their mouth, their throats, everything. Exactly. The nicotine is not nicotine does not produce cancer. That even the World Health Organization acknowledges that. And nicotine is a substance that is very similar to the substance that you could find in tea, like theine or caffeine. Is not like alcohol, is not like a hard drug. It produces definitely an effect on your body, like every substance, but it's a very mild substance. The problem with nicotine is that smokers smoked for the nicotine and die for the for all the burning substances that they consume with the cigarettes. With innovation, And with products like nicotine pouches and others, what we have finally found are alternatives to consume nicotine without all the other problems that, you know, burning tobacco brings.
Okay, so I was checking the research that you sent me. Basically, you focused on women, and you're showing here actually for women, if the women who want to give up smoking, for them having different alternatives is much more important than men, right? Interesting.
That is something that comes from an opinion poll that we conducted last year in Sweden. The opinion poll was done by Ipsos, which is one of the largest opinion poll companies in the world. And we wanted to know what ex-smokers, people who used to smoke and switched to alternative nicotine products, what they thought about, what was the process. We found many things, many interesting things. One of them is that the most important reason to quit smoking and change to alternative nicotine products for people in Sweden was their health, to take care of their health. And the second one is that there are several factors that can influence that decision one way or the other. And there are certain gender differences. For instance, the presence of flavors in alternative nicotine products is more important for women than for men. The same has to do with different levels of nicotine. This is more important for women than for men. What this shows, and you know, the products themselves, for instance, nicotine pouches are way more popular in women than in men in Sweden. What this shows you in the end is that the policies of one size fits all generally fail, and this is another case of that. You need, in order to defeat smoking is a very difficult beast to tame. We are under the false impression that people have stopped smoking. That is not the case. Today in the Europe, with some of the most restrictive laws that you have in the world, as I said, 1.3 billion of people around the globe still smoke. In countries like like Turkey, more than 30% of the population smoke, and close to 1 every 2 men still smoke. So this is a very difficult beast to tame, and you need to give smokers alternatives. And there are a lot of things you can do, but what we see, and this is unfortunately a problem in Turkey, but it's a problem in many other countries in the world, is that when the government, better said, opts for a policy that is extremely restrictive and only aims, you know, and bets on coercion, what you are doing is putting the current smoker, because that's the person we have in mind, by the way, the current smoker, you're putting them in front of the following dichotomy: quit or die. And that is inhumane, and that is not scientific, and that is against innovation. Today, thanks to innovation, we have other alternatives.
It doesn't really work, I guess. I'm not a smoker myself, but smoking was allowed everywhere in Turkey until the beginning of 2000s, and I'm old enough to remember. Then smoking is banned in many places in Turkey, like in restaurants and this and that. But you can see still young people are smoking. I mean, as you said, basically banning does not really work most of the time. So Sweden is one example. Are there any examples in other European countries?
Yes, there are, and not only European countries, but I mean, in the UK is also a very good example of. In the UK, let's say, safer nicotine products now are part of what a medical doctor can recommend you to stop smoking, because, for instance, the safer nicotine products are the ones that we are studying are snus, heated tobacco, vaping, and nicotine pouches. All these products are at least 95% less harmful than smoking. So the difference is, it's worlds apart. If you're currently smoking and you cannot quit, it's way better that you try an alternative nicotine product. The impact on your health is it's much better to use a nicotine pouch than to smoke. So let's say the medical systems of these countries, the UK, New Zealand, are adopting these products as part. They are not the only tool that they use. And again, one size fits all is generally wrong, but it's good that these products are used as a tool, as a potential tool, as a possible tool to help people quit smoking.
Yes, I see also in your research, as people get older, they are more concerned about their health. Like they want to give up smoking because of health reasons. But when you go to when you see the younger people, for example, they're more open to alternative products like vaping, like heating tobacco to some extent, or pouches. Older people tend to be more conservative, but I think that's understandable, right? That's what you would expect, I guess.
It's a habit, it's a question of habits, of course. In any case, what we are seeing nowadays also is that it's amazing how people who used to smoke, tons of cigarettes daily, they try alternative nicotine products, and in general they can abandon smoking. So that is really what's at stake here, Nevşin, and this is extremely important, is that we should not lose focus that, as I said, there are more than 1 billion people smoking, and if they change to alternative nicotine products, we are going to extend their lives. That is, this is one of the best pieces of news that we could have really, I think it's one of the best news of the 21st century. During this century, we can save 1.3 billion lives, people who would die prematurely and for probably horrible deaths. This is, if they switched, this is not going to happen. And this will liberate a lot of human potential. This will save a lot of families from being destroyed because of the loss of a parent. So sure. What's at stake is not a joke. And this is a very good news. This makes us extremely optimistic. And this is why we are interested in this field, because we see the potential to really positively impact a lot of lives in our world.
One last question. These pouches in Sweden, are they found everywhere, or can you buy this from like a pharmacy, or what is the taxation on that? So because Sweden is a highly,
yeah. So I know Sweden is famous for their taxes. Nevşin, these products are, and this is something that also came from our research. It's important that alternative nicotine products, we are talking now in the case of nicotine pouches and others as well, it's important that they are accessible, because again, thinking of someone who currently smoke, you don't want to make extremely difficult for this person to find an alternative nicotine product that is much better and much safer than a combustible cigarette. So in Sweden, these products are available through several retail channels, and that includes online. But on the other hand, these products are all of very good quality, they are regulated, and they are not sold to minors, to people who are underage. And we believe, again, this is why it is so important to have a robust and smart regulation. If these products are in the black market, let's say, and whoever sells them, illegally, no black market seller asks for an ID to see if the buyer is 16, 18, or 21, or whatever, is the age of them in the country. They just sell, and they sell whatever, usually products that are counterfeited or are adulterated somehow. So, and again, taxation of these products in Sweden represents the level of risk, or of safety of the products. This means that cigarettes are taxed higher than these products. And this makes sense from a public policy point of view. You want to, let's say, the higher the risk, you want to treat the product with a higher tax. And this is what Sweden has done, and they are very explicit about it. And there are other countries in the world that do the same as well.
I see. Thank you for your time, Federico. And now you'll be in Turkey talking to other NGOs and journalists about this new innovation and how to help people quit smoking, I understand. And thank you for giving the first interview to us.
Please, my pleasure, Nevşin, and everybody interested in our work can visit us at weareinnovation.global.
Thank you. Thank you very much.